Call the meeting order. Roll call.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Gazowski?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan? Yes, ma'am.
This meeting is a meeting of the West Geauga Local School District Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the West Geauga Local School District business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Pledge allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda items?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Tonight we have a presentation by Mr. Sean Williams, our Director of Technology. He's going to be presenting on the topic of Board Docs. Board Docs is a program whereby boards of education may go paperless. It is one that makes access on our agenda easily available to the public, as well as the backup pieces that go with that agenda. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Dr. Buckler. Board Docs is something that actually Mr. Kachowski brought up at our last board meeting. Board Docs is a web-based software designed for board meeting management and archiving. We would be able to have our own WestG portal. Let me give you a little bit of the history of what we've done with Board Docs. We started exploring it over a year ago. One thing I like to do whenever we start taking a look at any product, let's compare it to other products that are out there. I don't just like to look at one. Let's see what else is on the market. So I did some interactive web demos. One of the ones that I looked at was Board Effect. There's quite a few of them out there, and I looked at about 4 or 5. Most of them are geared towards the corporate market, which means there's a much higher cost. One of the advantages to Board Docs is there's a partnership with the Ohio School Board Association that provides a discount to Ohio school districts. So it's one of the reasons why school districts in our area tend to use it more often than other ones because of the discount afforded. I did do an outreach to some of the other districts for reviews and implementation strategies for it. Currently, we as a district use a really long scrolling PDF, which makes it difficult if you're looking for specific information inside our board agenda and items that are support items that go along with it. We also have a lack right now of a rich search functionality if you're looking for something specific on our website relating to previous board agendas and minutes. And actually, Karen Pillen's been bringing that up as something that has been a desire for some time to be able to specifically look for those items. So I took a look at the light version and the pro version. There's a significant cost difference between the two. So as a district, we want to look at what does the light version afford us. It gives us an agenda creation, which obviously we need for every board meeting. The support materials that would go along with every board meeting become interactive. Any document can be embedded into an agenda and later put out in minutes as a part of the minutes creation. So that makes these items then all searchable on our website for ease of access. There's the ability for us to create different user roles within the district, but also for the public to be able to then access the items later on. There's board policy support in the light version. So our current Neola policies will be embedded into Board Docs as well to be able to be searched later on. There's an agenda policy and meta search for the district, which means, as I mentioned earlier, not only can we search through everything within our district, but also other partner districts that are a part of Board Docs, which is great for research and what else is going on in other districts. Yes, you can do this on Google now, but to be able to do it from within the engine and know that we are specifically exploring school districts at that point in time is really helpful. Everything from the website is fully printable to customized needs. So we can create specific agendas for meetings like this, but also output any of those files later on. One of the things when Karen and I were talking about this is how redundant is it? We don't want to lose anything that we put up there. They have multiple servers over the country, and those back each other up. So if one site was to go down, they have a full backup at other sites. So there isn't an issue with us losing our data. The light version costs $2,700 per year. The pro version, which adds interactive meeting functions, it's over $9,000. When Karen and I were talking about it, we took a look at the functions in the light version, and really it's a significant functionality increase to our district at the $2,700 cost. It doesn't make sense for us to be looking at the pro version. The other features that we have that really aren't going to benefit our district at this time. One of the other questions that came up, and actually this one I do have to give Karen credit for as well, She talked about what happens if we want to leave. You know, are we locked in year after year? If we decide a year from now that we want to go to another solution, or we just want to go back to doing it ourselves. It's our content. They'll give us a DVD archive of it at any point in time. It's not just when we're going to leave. So we can request a DVD archive. They will send all of our materials back. We also do have the ability to add some of our previous content into it. They will hold up to 20 years worth of content. Obviously, now we're not going to go back and put 20 years of board agendas and minutes in there, but if we want to put things up from recent years that we feel would benefit from a searchable feature right now, we can do that at any point in time and request our content back if we want to. So it's a great solution. There really is no reason to look at some of the other vendors out there because the cost difference is at minimum double what Board Docs Lite would offer us. And there's no reason to go into spending that kind of cost when this will already give us that kind of functionality. Any questions?
Sean, how does the information get entered into the site?
They will upload the information, so they'll pull obviously from our website that's currently there, but we can also share with them information from DVDs that we currently have and previous data that we can upload as well. We just have to make a decision how far back we want to go. Obviously, we start with our current data right now to do that. As far as for current upcoming meetings to do that, that would be done through web interface. So you'd actually create the agendas on Board Docs. So those could be then printed later. So it becomes, instead of using Word or Adobe Acrobat, they would actually just be created in Board Docs to that platform's design.
So like we film some of our meetings and like we're filming a meeting tonight,
Right.
that could actually be loaded, if someone missed the meeting, that could be on Board Docs and they can see the discussion items.
Our website also hosts videos, so those links could be embedded into Board Docs as well. So it wouldn't matter where we are posting the video, we post it within Board Docs, we post it on our site, and those would be embedded as well. So any support pieces, any document, any video, any file that we wanted to attach to agendas and minutes later on, we can do with these.
Karen, not knowing much about what our records requests are from the public, would this cut down on some of that, or at least be able to have those folks that are looking for particular information?
I think it becomes searchable so that they don't have to make a public record request, all of those things that are on the website already. We have a DVD that's searchable at this point, it goes back into these channels, but that's, I haven't. So that's me going back and looking and searching things. This would allow us to put some of that information as far back as we want to go, and we can put that on the website now, so people can do their own searches of things.
And that could be added to Board Docs, is what you're saying.
That's nice.
Well, we'd probably go back a couple of years just to have that in place.
Does that cost us anything to do that? I mean, would it cost us anything to handle that DVD and say, here's 20 years of what board's done?
And
Yeah.
once you load that would be fun.
Or
There's
would we go back
$1,000.
2 years, I mean, that's.
Our storage is limited to 20 years, and we already have it in
Right.
the storage already, so we don't need to have that. It's $1,000 to do the setup, so that's part of that setup, $1,000 is to put information on.
What do you think we lose in time now at the public records request?
It's not the public records request, I think it will save the time. Sandy was putting the agenda together. Every time she makes a change, it remembers everything. And just loading up her, I mean, just to send you the agenda takes her about 2 hours on Friday because it has to load. It's a long document. She has to wait and she sends it out to other people. So right now we have a couple of public records requests from individuals that they want the agendas and all the documents associated with the agenda. So that would solve that problem. So every week she has to fulfill that public records request and have it on there. So this will help her organize. So if you were to say, okay, we want to change this one, we want to add a different resolution, or want to change it, it can be done kind of to the date. So you would have that information. As soon as it was changed on the website and we released it, you would have it. So it's something
Initial $1,000 and then 2,600 per year.
This, to just underscore what Karen said, this wouldn't end our public records request, but this would help to access information that was related to the board agendas and any backup materials for the board agendas that may be requested.
Yeah, our public records requests are probably, most of them very specific. So,
If there was discussion within minutes and the board members had opinions, would that be Board Docs as well? Would we have to enter that, or?
I have, and it's similar to what I would do now, but I would just enter it into as a discussion. So It would show the resolution, it would show the motion, the first, second, and then the voting, and then any discussion item would be added to that, so they would see it.
I mean, because if we made a motion and someone if maybe the motion was further in the future, and a board member felt pretty strongly that when we got to that point, we should address these kind of things, that would be law, sort of thing.
Just like the minutes are long, so that discussion, and what we do is, it's not a verbatim, it's to get the conversation. I try to be specific, not for the council.
It would be the same information that we have now, except
It would be in board docs, and it allows you to change that document. You know how you and I and Rich go over the document, we make changes and all that? Same with that. So it allows that to be done. Internet. Yes.
What happens when Word Docs is obsolete and the software is not in time?
Well, it's the same problem, it's the DVD. I mean, they will give us a electronic version of some storage, whatever they're using at that time, some DVDs, and whatever that current storage would be, they would give that to us. Now, we run the risk of old, I have minutes from 1940 over there sitting in a book, and I have minutes that are on, I have minutes that are sitting in a, no one's locking CDs, but they're locking. But, I mean, so we've had to we have to keep those updated. The written word is the easiest to keep. We want to keep them private, so we can search the phones.
One of the things too, to your point, a lot of your companies now are going to web-based engines because of the fact that people don't really buy software per se, they buy access to a web portal. And what they do as part of their service, part of what you're actually paying for is them to provide constant updates with software. So before it used to be with software, every year, every 2 years, you buy a new version of the software with all the new updated features. Now they do that every few months, and they upload it to their site. You'll see a quick little blurb when they log in, hey, this new feature is available to you now. For example, in the light version, because of the fact that they're trying to cater specifically to our market, before minutes creation was a premium feature. Now they brought that down to the light version to make it accessible. So now, for our purposes, it's actually full service, it does everything we need it to do. We did not do that when we looked at it over a year ago. So they keep adding and changing new features to it based on requests from the people that they work with. So you stay up to date. You'll see Google and Microsoft are doing the same thing with the Office 365, anybody's heard of that. That's all online now. And a lot of that is being delivered through the same method. Google does the same thing with their whole suite. So that's really where things are going now instead of buying standalone packages. For that reason.
Dr. Marco, in your previous district, you had the pro version, is that correct?
Yes, but actually all the features that I ever was involved in using were the ones that come with the light. So anything that would require the augmented version of that, the deluxe version, if you will, would be used by people who would be involved in some of the interactive meetings, et cetera, that Sean suggested. We never really made access to that in my department at all. So certainly the $2,700 version would be sufficient for what we need here. It's really a way to make the agenda more accessible to the public, and any changes in the agenda are available to the public in a more timely manner because they can be instantly uploaded and then whatever people access online they can see. The other benefit is that it's also ecologically a sound move to be going paperless. And while we see an abbreviated agenda here that the public views, there's a lot of backup that goes with those agendas. And so when you look at the amount of paper over time, it does cut back somewhat on paper costs. And not that that's going to make or break the district financially, but I think it just shows we're being environmentally sound in our practices as well.
And like Sean said, these features, the minute feature, which we didn't have before, so we're looking at that. Well, you already get everything on a PDF, you're already looking at all the information on an iPad, but the feature does make that a little bit more attractive for us. Because it does take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours to document. So, anyway, who's talking?
So wait a minute, Sandy's 2 or 3 hours, you're 4.
Hers is more than that. She's
Okay.
putting the agenda together.
So we'll break even in the first month.
There is a concept.
she'll talk less.
Yeah.
There will be some associated savings as we redefine people's roles up here. because that is one role that she occupies right now that will be reduced significantly in terms of her time necessary to complete it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Petoskey, because I know that was something that you saw at the conference and spearheaded. Appreciated that. And Sean, thanks for your presentation. Great.
Are there any other benefits that, it's really beneficial time-wise, money saving, but one of our big problems is communicating with the public, and are there any other benefits that will be able to get access the agenda and the documents, but is there something else we can use to help this problem with communication?
On both sides of that, with Word docs, it becomes a fully searchable area of the website. So if people have particular interest when they come to, anybody from the community comes to our site and has particular interest, they can put that in and they will find the information related to that. That also affects board members for that purpose too. As time goes on between meetings and you want to take a look at what has happened in past board meetings to kind of give you your own thought process of those. You're going to have your own access to that portal workspace if you're going to be able to get it and use. So that's really the purpose of it. It really is accessibility for communication purposes.
Part of what we need to do is to, if we go ahead with this, is educate people about how they can access this.
And they support that. I mean, there's a whole transition piece as far as making it easy for the community to access it, but also making it easy for our board members and staff here to access.
Sean, you're not offering a class at the library?
We can do that as well.
When someone goes on the website, it's just like they would put on minutes now, and go and put on minutes the same way, so they'll have access to that, and what you'll see is the document associated with it. So if we had a contract of some kind of voting, they would have access to that contract right there with the resolution. So you're not scrolling down trying to find the contract, it's just right there. So there is some ease, very transparent, everything, there are some things that we would want for the personnel related, if we had anything in executive session, it's not be, it's either not relegated to public now, same thing. So I think it makes it, they have it all in one place, and they have an agenda, and they have an it's very similar to what we have now. It's just, it'll be a different format. Similar to what the format we look now, kind of moved it towards a Word doc format, where you look at that, and kind of get used to that, and the public to get used to that, starting in January.
Sean, will this work on mobile devices?
Yes.
So somebody can sit here and be looking at all the documents we have at our disposal. Nice.
Anything we push to the portal, we will be able to access it.
We'll still use big spread.
Public participation. We limit this to 5 minutes, we're doing this for 30 minutes total. We ask that you state your name, your address, and I have 4 people that have signed up. So, Megan. Thank you.
Hi.
Want to go to the podium? And just for the public, we haven't mentioned before, the board doesn't address these concerns, we don't answer them, we just listen to what you have to say.
Okay, I do have papers though, may I have those?
Yes, sure.
Hi, good evening. My name is Megan Minotis. I live at 12554 Hubby Drive here in Chesterland. I am the spokesperson for many concerned parents and community members. I have delivered an electronic copy of the survey and petition. The petition has been signed by 138 people so far. We started collecting signatures on Friday afternoon. The survey was an online survey that was handed out to roughly around 800 people, and it was in regards to the changing of the elementary schools. As you can see, 138 people signed the petition, are not in favor of changing our schools. For the survey, 60% are not in favor of the change, and only 19% are. The 1% kind of had no opinion. We feel strongly against this change. We feel that this is being rushed, and the rush has left us with a lot of concerns and unanswered questions. With this being said, we feel this change is a big, dramatic change, and why do we have to start with such a drastic change? Let's start with something small. We've heard that this is being considered due to the change, the difference in the curriculums of the school. So let's start there. Let's get both of our elementary schools on the same curriculum. Let's figure out how we can make our busing system more efficient of a system. Sometimes the smallest change can have the biggest impact. The school board is supposed to be the voice of our people, and with the information we have presented to you, we really hope that you are listening to what we have to say. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susie?
My name is Susie Greer. I live in Chesterland. And first I want to say happy Pi Day to everyone. I do understand, I've been to the presentations, and I do understand that it comes at the recommendation of grade leveling from the superintendent. And as you probably should value his opinion, but you should also be responsible for thinking for yourselves too and doing some due diligence on your own. After all, that's why you are the board. If all you were to do is just take recommendations and rubber stamp them, there's no point in having a board. I've never heard any other options explored, especially regarding the communication collaboration. Especially in this day and age, there has got to be an easier way than putting the people in one building. I mean, with the technology that we have, can we not find a better way for the teachers to be able to collaborate and communicate with each other? I also heard unified direction and curriculum. I would think that comes from the top and comes down, and I don't understand why that's not happening already. And that should have been addressed already, and this is not a problem solver for that situation. I also never heard anything regarding the cost. There's going to be a one-time setup fee, so to speak, regarding this, and then there's going to be an ongoing cost incurred. The question that it brings up to me is are there going to be new levies that are going to have to be put out there to fund this school leveling? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maribel Valley, 14621 Stephen Hollow Drive. I'm a longtime resident of Chesterland and Russell. I was actually in the first class at Northview Elementary when they opened the building, which is now Lindsay. Both my daughters went here. My husband graduated from here. I've been in the district for 18 years. And I was just going to speak tonight. I sent an email to the board members, but I just wanted to read it out loud. I apologize for reading my phone. I didn't work at home. I'm ready to voice my support for Dr. Marquardt's proposal to reorganize the two elementary buildings. As a teacher, I have felt the lack of strong positive leadership since Dr. Podgett resigned. Since Dr. Marquardt has been here, I have felt a new sense of purpose for our district. Dr. Marquardt has shown that he has a proven track record in other districts, and although change is never easy, we need a new direction in WestGB. Dr. Marquardt was hired for his expertise and his ability to make the tough decisions. I know change is difficult, but change needs to happen. It needs to happen next year, not in a year or two. We've had enough years of indecision and lack of direction. Dr. Marquardt would not be proposing the change he did not feel was necessary to move our district forward. I strongly urge you to please support Dr. Marquardt's recommendation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Zupp, 360 Mount Vernon Drive, Mount Ohio. I came here feeling I need to say a few words after I went to the community meeting last Monday on the grade change for the elementary schools. And really from the perspective of how you're making this decision. Okay? I don't know if it's a good idea or not, as far as it helping the education of the students. I went to that meeting expecting to hear a plan on how it would be executed, evidence or data that supports such a change with the ultimate goal of improved test scores, and any issues that were expected mitigation plans for those. Fortunately, I didn't get any of that. I actually left the meeting more frustrated about the potential change. What we did here was we had declining enrollment, our scores are going down, therefore we need more teacher collaboration in the elementary schools, and therefore we have to move grades around. There was no evidence or data given to link any of these things together as far as improvement towards test scores. Okay. An audience member brought up some papers that had been written generally against it because that was his position. And the response to that was, well, I don't know about those and I'm not going to read them. okay, I'm sure you can find papers on both sides of the issue, but the fact that there weren't even any presented to support this decision kind of bothers me, because I feel there's a real lack of due diligence here to support this. And as far as the cons, number one is transportation. And it was number one on the list. It was even mentioned that in passing or in conversation, people asked about that. The only thing we were told was, oh, well, it won't be a hub shuttle system, and we'll try to keep commutes under an hour. Well, an hour is already excessive. Again, there was an audience question about, have you actually set up a bus route plan with this school, the proposed school configuration? And the answer was no. And in fact, went on to say it's ridiculous to think of doing that at this point in time. I strongly disagree with that statement. I think it would be part of the diligence to say, if we did this change, here is how the bus routes would work, exactly as the kids are today, not what they're going to be next year or who's coming in or going. And you can compare it to the routes you have today. And you'd be able to know what's the cost. Miles driven, time, longest, shortest commutes for all the kids. That could be easily compared. Then you would know how it's really going to affect everybody. And so to even say, well, we're going to keep it under an hour, if you haven't even done this analysis, I don't even know how you can say that. So I feel like this is a pretty significant change to the school system. It certainly shouldn't be taken lightly. And it's not something that you can just say, well, let's just change it and worry about the details later. Because, you know, as they say, the devil's in the details. So as you, board, I strongly want you to consider if the information you have basically was represented in that community meeting, I don't know how you can really move forward with it at this point. Again, I don't want to say I'm really for or against it. If someone tells me this is why we do it, this is how it's going to help, here's how we're going to manage the issues, then it's something I can consider. But right now, there's nothing.
Routine items, resolution 2016-03-031, resolution to approve routine matters of West Job and Board of Education to include the minutes, substitutes, code certified, classified.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Sullivan? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Before you have a resolution to approve the state purpose and budget for the middle school drama program, resolution 2016-03-032.
Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan? Yes. Resolution 2016-03-033, resolution to approve supplemental appropriation for the state and Thompson budget for the middle school drama program for $4,000.
Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second? Discussion?
Mr. Johnson?
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Ms. Leavenworth? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Resolution 2016-03-034, resolution to accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county. This is what we do every March, which allows us to levy the taxes for the district.
So moved. Do I have a second? Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Katsowski?
Yes.
Ms. Leavenworth? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Resolution 2016-03-035, resolution to approve the donations. We had a donation the middle school teachers lounge to improve it with microwaves and anything else they choose to do for $3,500. Connectco gives $1,000 to sponsor for them because I said I would. So look at you guys at middle school. We've got claims also, so they got $100 for our middle school.
Okay, motion.
Thanks.
Discussion. As far as this $3,500 for the middle school teachers, who makes that decision, that Mark?
I believe the money was given to the administrator, or not the administration, the staff in the school, so I expect that
Mr.
Mr. Kish will be putting together a committee of teachers and support staff to determine how they can best expend those funds.
Mr. Kish, when you've done that, if you would just let the board know so that we can thank the individual that did that, I think that's what.
I will most definitely, and before we go forward with anything, I've already got a committee set up, and before we go forward, obviously I'll deal with Dr. Mark Ward's input.
I wish to thank this anonymous guy too, because he also donates to the Cleveland Museum of Art and the Natural History Museum.
They are replacing the microwaves as part of it.
Yes, there are 2 microwaves going.
Mr. Kotowski, you know why we're not this right. I'm still looking for charity donors. Roll call?
Mr. Joyson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Leavenworth? Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Personnel resolutions, resolution 0336 is to approve long-term substitutes listed.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call? Excuse me, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Kwiatkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Leavenworth? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Resolution 03037 is to amend supplemental contracts as presented.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Leavenworth? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Kwiatkowski?
Yes.
Resolution 03038 is another resolution to approve supplemental contracts for 2015-16 school year.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Kwiatkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Leavenworth? Yes.
Resolution 0339 is to approve teacher and parent chaperones for the 6th grade camp, which runs from April 6th through the 8th, 2016.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Kwiatkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Leavenworth? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Policy and program resolutions, resolution 03040 is a resolution to proceed with the conversion of Lindsay Elementary and Westwood Elementary to grade level, specifically K2, 3, 5 buildings, effective with the commencement of the 2016-17 school year.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. A lot of discussion. I'm sure a lot of you are here for this discussion. I want to thank everybody that's here because that means you're vested in your children. I appreciate the emails. I appreciate the conversations. I appreciate the research. More importantly, I've been on board where these kind of discussions have gotten way out of hand, and I appreciate everyone being polite about it. Your children are being affected, and that creates a lot of emotion. And I appreciate that you're here to be the voice for your students. I think that that's what makes the school district awesome and great. That said, it's a difficult decision, as you can imagine. I think for me personally, and I want everyone from the board to be able to express how they feel, I think it's exposed a few things that I didn't really realize with our district that maybe we should take a harder look at. And so as we continue forward, I think those are things that we need to address and things that we need to look at. Busing schedules. I had no idea children were riding buses for 55 minutes and 45 minutes. So I only learned that that happens in every district, quite frankly. Yet I didn't know that. I didn't know children. We drive our children, and that's just our choice. So I didn't realize that. Looking at that, I can see why that would cause some concern if my child was to ride a bus for a little bit longer. So those are really valid concerns. I appreciate the support of the teachers. They called, emailed, and given a tremendous amount of support on the curriculum side. and on the instructional side, how they felt that that may benefit what they're doing. So I appreciated that. It took an enormous amount of courage, Mrs. Alley, wherever you are, to come and speak in front of me, and I do appreciate that. Thank you. You certainly didn't have to do that. And for the other speakers, thank you. Surveys and getting petitions, that takes time, and that takes passion. And I personally really do appreciate it. I have felt, listening to these concerns, that this is something that we need to take a step back. And while I do believe that we should move in this direction, we should take a step back, maybe and look at doing this in the following year, not this particular year, so that we've had more time to look at where bus schedules would be, how that would impact the children, and be able to have the community come and be a part of that process. That's my opinion, and I'm one vote here. If I may, by polling, I hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Allen, but you've got the same emails as I have. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't agree with you more. I've seen too many questions come up, and as I mentioned, transportation seems to be one of the biggest ones. I do think we need to look at it. I'd be more comfortable with that than I would force feeding at this point.
Mrs. Lovett?
One of the things that I'm very conscious of, and I haven't been privy to discussions that have taken from you as a town, discussions that took place last year within the time that I went off the board, this board came back on. So I don't know what kind of discussions there have been about this. I know that we have talked about this in the past. In fact, at one point in time, we were considering putting kindergarten at Metzenbaum, because they had facilities there for the kindergarten classes, and we were looking at, with the enrollment we had at the time, that would kind of cut down on the numbers in the two elementary buildings and would allow us a little more space, a little more flexibility at the two elementaries. I know that we talked from time to time, there was discussion of when we would go to the public, there was not public support for the K2, 3, 4, 5. And I think, my feeling is that in my past experience of closing a couple of schools, when we closed Russell School and Chester School, we took more time getting input from the community. This community is used to doing that. And I think that we need a little bit more of that. We're also at the point where we're discussing or could bring back looking at the open enrollment issue. What are we going to do to keep our numbers up? Are we going to do open enrollment? Are we going to consider merging or somehow associating with another district? And if we're not, then our numbers are dropping. Are we going to be faced with closing one of the elementary schools? That we might have to mothball one of the elementary schools because the numbers going down. And if we were to do that, if we were to make this change now and then find ourselves in another couple of years closing a school, would we be making that transition to moving people around and then doing it again in another few years? So I think we need to take a step back.
I'm glad to hear that, because now for people in the audience, they probably don't all know this, but because of the Sunshine Law, we just can't have email conversations or phone calls between us. So we're really finding out where we stand in terms of responding to the public right now, because I know from previous conversations we all have thought there's a lot to be said for grade leveling, and this is why Dr. Marquardt in part proposed it, partly because he felt he had the support of the board, and partly because he feels it's a good idea. And as people came forward with their reasons and research, it began casting the consequences in a different light. Also, by delaying it a bit, it gives us a chance to talk about some of the other strengths of grade leveling should we decide to do it. One of the things which, and I certainly want board members to know this, one of the things that I feel is very strong about grade leveling is we create schools in which we have a single class or a single cohort. So all the third graders together, all the fourth graders together. Now, the reason that's important is because a problem which we've had in this school district is one which is common to a lot of districts which in fact have middle schools, and this is one reason why there's a movement toward K-8. The problem is that we transition kids into middle schools from two different schools. Kids, some of whom don't know each other, some others who know each other casually through sports or scouts and so on. We transition kids at the most vulnerable time in their life, 6th and 7th grade, a time when they have problems with authority, a time when they have problems making good decisions, a time when they're extremely concerned about what their peer group is thinking of them. And we take them at this vulnerable time and we combine these two groups. Well, in middle school, we have a drop-off in achievement. And one thing that this would do is address that drop-off of achievement. We haven't talked about that, and we haven't looked at other possible ways to address this, including different configurations. The other thing, which will be good to be able to talk to the community if we delay this a bit about, is the fact that in our community we have wonderful support groups. We have the Lindsay PTO, the Westwood PTO. We have people who just, as parent volunteers, come into the schools. And it turns out, and this was something that I was not aware of, just how disruptive some of the people who are parents who are really key to the achievement of our children feel this is. And having time to work with them, and I of course still support this, and we'll have, should we choose not to do this at this moment, rather delay it for a year, we'll have time to have more dialogue and people can express their concerns and we can talk about why this is good for kids. So that's one thing that I think we need to do, is work more hand in hand with the support groups and the parents who volunteer in the schools. And so I would support delaying this for a year. I think the concept is still good, and we have to talk more to the community about why it's good. The other things in addition to what was presented, and there's a lot of research on transitions, which virtually all deals with the transition of children going into a new situation, or children going into a grade level school where we get kids who don't know each other mixing at middle school. That's where most of the research is. And I think as we give us a little time to talk more to parents and let them know what we're doing, why we're doing, the last thing, of course, that we're all concerned about is the bus rides. And I think that we really have to look at the possibility of, if we're going to make a commitment to this, of literally possibly getting another bus. If we come to a consensus that this is in fact beneficial to our students, which I believe it is, then we don't want to pull that benefit out from under them by long bus rides. So I think we'll have to look very carefully at, and this will take some staff time and so on. Now, the good thing about this, though, is this is not reinventing the wheel. Actually, Kenston, right near us, has a school district which is essentially the same size as ours, and they're doing this. Not only is Kenston doing it, but Hudson is doing it. Rocky River is doing it, Aurora is doing it. And those are school districts that people move into specifically for the schools. And their students do very well. They're districts who we think are our peers. And causation and correlation are not the same thing. Correlation is not causation. I'm not saying that's why they have these good scores. However, you have to remember that if you feel that this is a negative, that in spite of that, they're still doing well. So this is neither the kiss of death or the cure-all for everything that ails us. But if we have a chance to talk to parents, talk to the community, and put more information together, I think it'll be really good for our schools and our community.
As well.
For me, I did get to go to the one meeting, the community meeting over here at the high school, and I was in the back, so for me it was pretty easy to at least get a sense of what I felt people were feeling. And I was a little surprised because I thought the reaction was clearly negative, and the amount of information that we were giving, although I think some of it was good, some of it was still not solid to answer people's questions, like the bus ride. That was the first time I heard like a bus ride could be over an hour. So, for a child sitting on a bus for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, they have to pee. 2 extra minutes is like, so, an hour is but it's a huge difference for a child sitting there across the room, like, jumping up and down. So, if we're doing 50 minutes now, we need to look at that, because an hour is The other thing I learned from that meeting was the people who, at least I talked to a number of people who were the most, I learned what they were doing to volunteer in the school, and they were extremely vested in the school, extremely caring and volunteering, and they weren't for it. So to me, if the people who are volunteering the most and putting all this effort in are not fully sold on the idea, then we need to relook at the idea because we want them to volunteer, we want them to be involved. And that led me to another question is, when I was hearing about the volunteers, the concern was, I have a child in first and fourth grade. You know, I don't have statistics, but I would like to know how many kids are being impacted by split school. You know, if 80% of the population has a child in first and fourth grade, I would have a hard time with that if it's affecting everybody, because people are going to be driving all over Castleton. If it's 5% of the population, you have to factor that into it. It seemed like it's affecting a lot of people, because almost everybody I talked to had a first or second grader and a third or fourth grader. So I don't know the statistics of that, but I think that's a piece of information that you have to look at. When I came to the board, I was kind of told, well, you do what the superintendent says. And obviously, with open enrollment, I agreed a little bit, but I didn't totally agree with raising superintendent's opinion to go up from 300 to 400 to 500. So some people say you have to listen to administrators, and I think sometimes you do, and sometimes you have to think on your own. So clearly with open enrollment, I think it has a place, but I wasn't going to agree with that. I think, you know, Dr. Marquardt's, this idea, although it's a good idea, I don't know that I'm agreeing to the fact that it wasn't totally developed to the potential that everyone can understand and everybody can buy into it. And I would love to see, you know, 60-40 the other way, because I think the community, this is your family, this is your school. The teachers, from what I understand, are very, very much for this. The administration is for this. So, you know, if people who are leading their teams to educate your children are all for this, I have a hard time not supporting them, because they're saying this is going to be improved. So I'm definitely for waiting on getting more information, tying up pieces, and making sure that, you know, we're all comfortable, or at least people are comfortable that they've gotten all the answers to their questions, and they're vested in the community, and that their voice has been heard.
Could I say something too? I'd like to.
One second. I just wanted to promise Mrs. Leverett, she had that opportunity. And since she's one lone female over here that has all these males jogging for positions, out of respect, please.
Well, thank you. At least he didn't say age.
I wouldn't dare.
Good kick on the potato. I just wanted to add that I didn't say, I think there's some real pros to the possibility of doing this. And this is in no way showing any lack of support for our superintendent, because I think that he has come in and is showing great leadership for this school system, and we're lucky to have him. And I would support moving forward with this after we give a longer chance or more chance to vet the different pros and cons of it. But I didn't want to not to go unsaid that I'm supportive of our superintendent, and I think he's done a lot of good to the district in just the short time he's been here.
Oh, well, thank you, Kathy. That was exactly what I wanted to say, which is we're the ones who put Dr. Marquardt up to it. Let's you know, we believed in it, but we supported it, and it's your turnout and the fact that we did not fully understand the situation as a board. I think we've all made that clear, and we're grateful for everyone who has participated, and we're grateful for Dr. Marquardt to come forward and propose this, and in fact propose it in a very short time frame, which in education is quite remarkable. Things tend to happen at a pace that makes geologic time look like you know, Flash Gordon.
Dr. Marquardt, did you want to necessarily say anything? You don't need to.
I would never lost for words.
That's
Thank you for your words tonight. And obviously, when I make a recommendation like this, and I still stand by my recommendation, I do it based on what I feel is in the best interest of students. And honestly, while I know that I was encouraged by the board to explore this and to make a recommendation, and in doing so, I know I was following the wishes of the board in the exploration and making the recommendation, I also don't want you to think that I put the wishes of the board ahead of my own judgment, because I didn't. This is truly a recommendation. I feel, as I stated in the presentations, I don't think there is one right way to configure schools. It depends on the needs of the district and the characteristics of the district as to what delivery system works the best. But I do think that in our case, when the board has established the academic achievement goals that we established as part of its long-range planning in 2013, that certainly the more speedy delivery model would be where we'd have grade level buildings. With that, of course, obviously, I serve at the bidding of the board and the will of the board, so whatever directives that you give me and the administrators, you know that we follow.
Thank you. And I would like to also say that being on the board for a few years now, our past superintendent, who was only here temporarily, had made this recommendation before as well. Looking at where we were with achievement, looking at where we were set up, he had made the recommendation at the grade level. Considering that he was a part-time superintendent and he wasn't vested necessarily in our community, we didn't feel that that would be a move that we could make with that particular individual. I know that when we brought people in, that was one of Ben's choice questions to ask them, along with sort of open enrollment issues that we were dealing with our district. How did he feel about grade leveling? And what's been amazing for me is Dr. Marquardt's been consistent in his statement. It works for some districts, it just depends on the needs of the district. So I appreciate that that's been that case all the way along in this. Having looked at it and suggesting it, one of the difficult things I think as a board member is we don't want to micromanage the gentleman who we've hired with the experience, with a doctorate degree in education, and say, no, we don't think so. His recommendations are one of which he's had his staff give him feedback, he's had teachers give him feedback, and he's made that recommendation. So it's very difficult tonight to say, you know what, with all that education, all that experience, all that support, nah. But looking at where we're at today, I think that we can do a better job of explaining why it is we think that this is important. You may never agree, you may agree, but at the end of the day, I think that, and again, I only speak for myself, not for the board, I think that we need to do a little bit better job of explaining why, how, and where, so that somebody's child doesn't have to go to the bathroom on the bus because it's even more than an hour ride. But that you have a better understanding of why we're going in the direction. Because I truly believe that direction will be a better model, a better delivery model for educating our children. I really do. Or I wouldn't have taken the heat to try to make this decision through. So it's going to be my recommendation to the board that we sort of amend this proposal. I'm going to say that what we do is we vote down this particular proposal, which would be next year, but I'm going to introduce a new proposal that would make it for the school year of 2017-2018. Therefore, giving the public a chance to come and talk, giving us a chance to give some presentations, and maybe address even some of the questions that came through the email. So I'm motioning, what I would do is, the motion is on the floor, so I would ask for a roll call, and I would encourage the board to vote against this resolution. You can start with me. Yes. No.
Mr. Allen?
No.
Mr. Gajowski?
No.
Ms. Livermore?
No.
Dr. Cox?
No.
I would like to introduce a resolution that I'm going to call 2016-03-04-0A. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of West Geogga Local Schools hereby proceeds with the conversion of Lindsay Elementary and Westwood Elementary to grade level K through 2, 3 through 5 buildings, effective in commencing of the 2017-2018 school year. Now, in that,
So moved.
and a second, in that, we have the discussion.
Yeah, I would rather have a motion that said we're going to explore the conversion rather than we're going to do it, because there are a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration. Our enrollment, what we're going to do as far as more students, do we need to have more students? But, we talked about 2,000 as kind of not a magic number, but a number to aim for, and if we're going to go below that, we want to faced with the closing of a school. I don't want to tie our hands to, this is where we're gonna be in 2017. Not that I'm against doing that, I just think that it's inappropriate for us to make a motion saying we're gonna do something when we still need to explore.
As a board, we would be able to back that up later, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think it might be good then to set a point at which we make a decision, because the administration is going to need time then to put this all together. When do you think we need to make a decision on that? If we were going to postpone it, essentially we'd be postponing it. And I think it's probably a good idea, because if we're going to delay it with the intent of hearing comment, I mean, we have to have the intention then of hearing those comments and having potential of being swayed, although frankly, I'm still in favor of grade level very much, but without the, without the integrity of being willing to be swayed by a persuasive argument, then why have public comment, why have public involvement? So, however, if we're studying that, we want to put an end cap on it and say, here's where we're going to make the decision so that you have time to move on it.
I would think that the very latest the board would want to make a decision on that would be on the 1st of February. Because this year, while we could have done it, it would have been a very tight schedule.
Well, and I think that if you take the position that this is going to improve the education of our students, every time we wait, why wait? Why not have a delivery model that improves the education of the kids as soon as we can possibly do that, while taking into consideration the concerns of our community? I mean, again, I go back to, we've talked about that in this district for over 15, 20 years. I'm at pancake breakfast, I'm listening to Chardon people tell me that their district is doing the same exact thing we're doing today. They're looking at grade level in their district, and they have local individual neighborhood schools today. So from that standpoint, this isn't, not in a vacuum. Other school districts have looked at this, others have done it, maybe some haven't. We certainly have taken the position that we haven't. And so that's my position to say, let's not sit on this for another 10, 15, 20 years. Let's make a decision to go in this direction by giving the chance to the community. That's a year. Well, actually, it's more than a year. And that gives a chance for the concerns about busing and bus rides. I mean, in this discussion, I've learned how many buses we have. I don't know how many buses we have. I've learned how many routes we have. We wouldn't have to purchase a bus now. We have one. We have actually, so, I mean, in this discussion, I've learned a lot about what I think our strengths and our weaknesses are. I think it would be, I've heard a lot of opinions that say, well, you have to vote this way or you have to vote that way. I really want to impress upon the public that I appreciate the emails. I appreciate the conversations. I even more appreciate it when you're respectful when you say them. Thank you. But more importantly, all that information does help. It doesn't necessarily mean that these aren't valid reasons to go forward, but it does bring up the point that we have to do a little bit better job. I think Tom said it best, and I'm a salesman, but Tom said it best. We need a better job of selling this idea to you so that you understand why we're going in this particular direction. But that said, any comments, Tom? I have a reputation of cutting you off, Tom.
I mean, I guess my only question is if we made a motion to do that and we find out something once we know that isn't right, then we would make a motion to not do that. I don't know how to do it.
Well, we could, I think what Ben is saying is probably the best way to go, so we need to set a deadline, unlimited making the decision. And then we're not saying we're going to do this by 2017, August. We're saying that we will make a decision.
The position of Ben and Kathy is to say, let's say that we're going to make a decision in the future. And I'm not going to speak for you, Ben. Is that what you're saying as well?
Yeah, and one of the reasons is, just so you know, people are going to want to be talking to us. We're going to be doing research on this as it comes up. And if we make a decision right now to do it, I wouldn't really be listening in good faith to people when they're giving me their point of view. So by saying we would study it and make a decision on a certain date, we would then review the options, and we could honestly say to people, not that this was a foregone conclusion when we listened to you, but that we listened to you and we made this decision, or we listened to you and we came up with something better. And I would set a date. I mean, it could be February, that's the latest. I would see, ideally even the end of the year. Yeah, so we get it out of the way this year. If we get to take like 6 months or 8 months, probably, well, let's see, if we take 6 months, that puts us into October, right? So, I mean, I could see doing it in October because people are back in school, kids, parents are around, everybody's here. And I could see in October or November making a decision because then we have time, September, October, for meetings with parents, for discussions with parents, and for planning beforehand. And then the administration would have time to move on. And so that's my recommendation. Is that
Okay, so again, I want to be clear, the position of both Mrs. Leavenworth and Mr. Katowski is to say that we'll discuss this in the future and then come to a resolution in the future, is that correct?
The decision will be made whether we move forward.
So you would make a resolution to do that? Okay. My position, let me be clear on my position. My position is the administrative staff, the teachers, and the superintendent have made a recommendation. I believe in the recommendation. I believe in his qualifications to make that recommendation. And so I'm in support of the recommendation. I am also in support of that the community needs more information, more time. I feel if you don't give it that time, you just told the administrative staff, thank you very much for all your hard work, but we're going to wait. That's my opinion. So does anybody else have a comment? If not, I'll go to roll call. Motion on the
Motion on the floor
Thank you.
is be it resolved, the Board of Education of WestGBrd Local School District hereby proceeds with conversion of Lindsay Elementary or Westwood Elementary to grade level K2-5 buildings effective at the commencement of the 2017-2018 school year. That is what is on the floor.
Okay, roll call.
Dr. Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Katowski.
I hate to vote against this, but
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mrs. Leavenworth.
No.
Mr. Thorson.
Yes.
The following resolution, Resolution 03041, is to approve the board docs proposal that was presented to you tonight by Mr. Wagner.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second it. Discussion.
Was there any other agents, any other?
That's good. There's other companies that do it. They're more in the corporate side. There's companies like yours that they're almost double what the labor would be. And that's their rate is $6,000 per year. So there's nobody that offers converting a similar price range. Ours really, the reason why we're not getting it down to that is because of the OSBA. They give a discount. So really, from a cost-effective standpoint, it really is the best route to go.
In your board package, I've got a list of all the school districts that have whether it's a light version or a professional version.
No discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Katowski.
yes.
Ms. Leavenworth.
Yes.
Dr. Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Thorson.
Yes.
Very, very busy week. In addition to our meetings that we had, the community meetings relating to the issue of the buildings themselves, we also had a couple other events that took time in the evenings, which were time well spent with our kids and with our families. One was we had the annual induction to the National Honor Society. Mr. Bishop, I believe we had about 46, 45. 45, 46, I have two different counts, and I don't know which. I sent out 46 letters, so someone may have received a congratulatory letter. We didn't make National Honor Society. In which case, you can show it to your kids. But it was a very, very nice ceremony, and it's wonderful to look at the kids who get inducted into NHS, because they have the pillar of scholarship they've all achieved, but in addition to that, they have citizenship, they have leadership, they have service, and it's wonderful to see these kids. And it's neat to know that not only do those kids encapsulate those qualities, but they encapsulate those qualities because they've been instilled by their parents. So it's really encouraging to see this group of students and to see how they present themselves. We also had a musical this week, and the musical was very well attended. I think there were probably several hundred there, about 250 or so in every performance. I was having a hard time saying rendition. That's not what I wanted. I didn't see it until Sunday, but I know that the kids did a great job, and equally importantly, they had a great time doing it. So hats off to the teachers who spent so much time and energy, and to the kids and their families who spared them for that time. We also have a rather exciting initiative coming up that people will be hearing a little bit about soon. Districts get compared all the time by how our students score on a host of different activities. ACT is one of the tests that's a very, very highly publicized test because it's nationally normed, and kids by their performance on the ACT have an advantage in two areas if they score well. One is they get into more select colleges and universities. Secondly, they have an opportunity to accrue scholarship monies as a result of their performance on the ACT. And it's been a demonstrated fact, the more kids take standardized tests like that, and the more assistance they get, tutorial services, et cetera, the better they do on those tests. It looks nice for us as a school district, but the real beneficiaries are the kids and their parents pocketbook when kids do well on the ACT. And ACT prep can be a very expensive proposal. We have been fortunate enough to make connections through WEDGE, which is our West Geauga Education Association, the foundation. We've been able to make contact with the company that provides these services to students, and we're getting them at a small fraction of the cost, so that our sophomores and our juniors can avail themselves of some of these tutorial services for a cost of $39 to the parents. That's nothing compared to what it would cost if people went out and tried to.
I want to say I paid $400, or $500 when I did it.
And I'm sure it was money well spent. But this is a great opportunity. It really is something the parents will hear more about, and we'll be putting it out there for hopefully to get a lot of kids to take advantage of this first time around. And what they're saying is that participation in this program can yield as much as a 4-point increase on the ACT. That's a lot. That can be the difference between getting into a college or not getting into that college, or gaining that elusive scholarship or not getting that scholarship. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome. And Mr. Bishop, I'd love to hear if there are any families that might be a difficulty with. I wouldn't want to see any kid miss out on it. That's a huge advantage that we can do to make sure that they move that mark this season. Nice job. Maybe we're excited about it.
Well, Linda Tadaro is the person to thank, not, I'm not the person. She's the one who brokered this, she's the one who made the contact, put them in contact with me, and the rest, as they say, is history, so it worked out well.
Maybe we can handwrite our next board meeting to thank her publicly to do that. So
What's kind of nice, I didn't say, is most of the schools with whom they partner on this are the very selective private schools. Not so much the sectarian private schools, the big name ones that I don't want to do a commercial for them, so I'm not going to name them. You know who they were if I say who they were. So those students who get the benefit of these services, soon our West G kids will serve as well. So that's good.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Any reports from board members? I know Gabby, you had a chance to talk to Nancy at the curriculum.
No, I was in the.
Sorry. Okay. Has any board members had a chance to talk to their collective committees?
Hey, there's been a lot about facilities lately.
You wanted that, come on.
Have you had a chance, or any community members, have you had a chance to see our baseball diamond? It's amazing. We did a lot of work this fall, and making sure, prior to this, and if you haven't had a kid in baseball, you probably didn't know this, but the kids weren't able to play home baseball games in West Geauga. It was too wet, they just weren't able to do that. And on the board made initiative, on the recommendation of the superintendent, we have a gorgeous baseball diamond. So if you get a chance to take a look at it, I think the kids will really be proud of that. Last year, with all the renovations we did with the football field, we also weren't able to have any home track meets. And over the course of time, Mr. Russo worked on projects to redo the track, and we're able to put a shot put and field events in there. So the kids will be able to have home events and track meets. So two things last year we didn't do was have a baseball game here in West Geauga and have a track meet. Now we'll be able to do both of those things and showcase where we've come as a school district. My next motion is for adjournment, but before I do that, with the announcement of the next board meeting, Dr. Markart, we talked about the state of the 28th. I think we have a conflicting thing happening on the 28th.
No, it's,
It's on April.
we have
Oh, that's in
college
April,
and
okay.
career fair in April.
Because I don't want to miss the college and career fair, and I don't want people to miss.
25th is was our conflict. We were
Great.
meeting on at the same day.
Maybe when would we make the, well,
We like to make it on this one, Wednesday, the 27th.
In April?
because I think we should be there to support that.
We're gonna have a.
So it was on the 25th and
I think it's on the 25th.
It isn't.
Okay, we were looking to see if we could do it.
Can we move it to that Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay, the next regular board meeting is March 28, 2016, at 7 p.m. in the board office community room. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Lawrence? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
And Mr. Duffy?
Yes.